How connected is your neighborhood? Can you use public transit to get to grocery stores, retail shops, and other amenities easily? Or do you need a car? Is your community accessible to people who walk, bike, or use a wheelchair to get around? Is your community affordable? For youth and seniors? For homeowners and renters? For people aging in place or living with a disability? For people of all races, ethnicities, backgrounds, and socioeconomic statuses? In many neighborhoods throughout Chicago, the answer to these questions is no. In North Side neighborhoods, housing costs have rocketed. On the South and West Sides, historic disinvestment and segregation mean community members can't easily get what they need in their own neighborhoods. Depending on the approach, the development process can help bridge gaps in equity, or it can worsen them. A concept called ETOD, or Equitable Transit-Oriented Development, offers a framework for how to approach development differently. Put simply, transit-oriented development means building housing and neighborhood amenities like grocery stores and shops near public transit, like train stations or bus stops. That proximity of transit to the places we all go makes it easier and faster for people to get around using public transportation. TOD, or transit-oriented development, has been around for decades, but ETOD places a greater emphasis on ensuring that transit-oriented projects are 1. Community-driven, 2. Serve residents, 3. Boost access to housing and quality goods, services, and amenities like groceries, healthcare, laundromats, and even art galleries. In Chicago, city policy defines ETOD as any development within a half mile of a train station or a quarter mile of a major bus corridor. ETOD has a range of benefits for communities. It increases access to jobs by increasing the number of businesses accessible via public transit. It reduces the cost of living for residents by making it easier and faster to get around without owning a car, which can be expensive. And it helps to create a healthier environment to live, work, and play in by encouraging a greener mode of transportation. The City of Chicago offered its first grants for transit-oriented development projects in 2013. Nearly all of the funded TOD projects, however, were located downtown and on the north side, continuing a pattern of disinvestment long familiar to the south and west sides of the city. But in 2019, the Big E, equity, began to take root in Chicago's TOD planning. The city unveiled a new round of grants, this time prioritizing projects on the south and west sides. Since 2021, the City of Chicago has invested over $1 billion in ETOD projects through grants, tax credit allocations, and other resources. There have also been some big ETOD policy moves recently. First move. In June 2021, the Chicago Plan Commission approved and adopted the ETOD policy plan. This plan updated existing TOD policies from 2013 and 2019. This was also the first time ETOD was formally incorporated into city policy. Second move. In July 2022, the City Council passed the Connected Communities Ordinance, the most comprehensive piece of ETOD legislation in the nation. This ordinance brought zoning changes that codified, or put into law, parts of the ETOD policy plan. Third move. In July 2023, the city's commitment to ETOD was reaffirmed in the mayoral transition report from Mayor Brandon Johnson. There are many ways the city identifies and funds an ETOD project. The first set of pioneer projects came from a variety of developers, programs, and funding sources prior to policy changes. Some projects include the Hatchery, Woodlawn Station, and Latinos Progresando's new community center. The 2021 ETOD pilot program was the first attempt at putting the ETOD policy plan into action. The city and Elevated Chicago invested in 11 ETOD projects throughout the city, investments such as affordable housing complexes, mixed-use developments, and small businesses. Grant recipients included a business incubator and art space, housing, and a placemaking and wayfinding project. After the success of the 2021 pilot program, the Chicago Department of Planning and Development awarded ETOD grants to 29 projects in 2023 and 2024. And the Chicago Department of Housing allocated tax credits to 18 housing projects, all of them located near CTA stations and along high-frequency bus routes.
I think there's a lot of reasons why developers should be excited about the policy plan. It definitely sets a series of priorities and starts to really clarify, what do we mean by ETOD? I think for folks who aren't necessarily in the work and they're just, a developer who's trying to, do affordable housing or do market rate development or what have you, to have a toolkit that they can, sort of resource that, sort of we can share within the development community is huge.
ETOD comes in all shapes and sizes, from single-floor commercial developments to larger residential buildings to mixed-use projects that incorporate multiple elements. Sometimes, developers don't realize that what they're building is an actual ETOD. When developers understand ETOD principles, they are prepared to tap into local and state ETOD grants and incentive programs. There are a few criteria that qualify a site for ETOD. ETOD policies apply to new developments located within a half mile of a train station or a quarter mile of a designated bus corridor. This includes specific CTA line stops and high-frequency bus routes. Let's take a look at an ETOD in action. 43 Green is a mixed-use development that includes affordable and market-rate housing units. It's located near the 43rd Green Line station in Bronzeville. The Hatchery is a food and business incubator located next to the Kedzie Green Line station in East Garfield Park. Lucy Gonzalez Parsons Apartments are 100 units of affordable housing built on what used to be an underused parking lot near the Logan Square Blue Line station.
Lucy Gonzalez Parsons Apartments is a transit-oriented, 100% affordable housing development that Bickerdike constructed right by the Logan Square Blue Line. It is 100 units of affordable housing at the site that used to be a parking lot. If you're familiar with Logan Square, and it's the same story across much of the city, rental prices have been going up, and there's been a significant population change in the neighborhood. And people who've lived there for a long time, largely Latinos and black families, have been priced out. So this site was seen as an opportunity, and became an opportunity to provide housing at an affordable rate to keep people in the community.
Community members and even elected officials sometimes oppose ETODs because of their inclusion of affordable housing and reduced parking requirements in their communities. That attitude is called being a NIMBY, which stands for Not in My Backyard. Some people fear that ETOD will decrease property values, increase crime, or increase congestion. Research shows that these fears are often unfounded. But urban myths can travel faster than the red line. So these misstatements sometimes get amplified by people in charge. Having a firm understanding of the true benefits of ETOD can help you cut through the noise and make the case for your project and your community.
When I got to South Shore, I I viewed my current apartment. It was almost like right away I wanted to live here, especially with the art around this space. I know a few of the artists that do a lot of the murals around the neighborhood. Living near transit is pretty much a priority because I can't always afford to have an Uber or a Lyft. I have to be able to get to work. I have to be able to get to gigs. I have to be able to get to different events that I frequent. So that's usually like outside of like the unit and where I need to live, what it needs to have inside of it. The transit is the next priority.
I pretty much do like structure my life around like where I'm living public transit wise. So like down to where I grocery shop, how I get to work. It's all kind of revolving around like what line would I take or like how often does it come?
Thanks to the Connected Communities Ordinance, developers can take advantage of financial incentives to build accessible housing units on the ground floor. ETOD projects qualify for reduced parking requirements and are eligible for density bonuses, meaning developers can include more units when building near transit. And the approval process is fast-tracked for ETODs located in high-cost areas and that include affordable housing units. The full text for the ordinance is available online at the chicago.gov website. Elevated Works, a City of Chicago funded program led by Elevated Chicago, the Center for Neighborhood Technology, and other partners, also provides technical assistance to ETOD developers to fill knowledge and skills gaps and help their projects succeed. The types of assistance that projects have received include legal and zoning support, communications planning, and design help. Elevated Works' goal is to make ETOD more accessible to developers.
Developers can get involved in ETOD by first learning what the community priorities are. Go to where folks are already gathering, where they're already setting visions and agendas for what they want the future of development looks like. I think it begins by first listening instead of leading with an idea that you have. And so whether that is a local church, a local sports team, whatever that community gathering space looks like in your neighborhood, go to that space, listen, ask a lot of questions, really show up as a neighbor before you show up as a developer.
If you would like to learn more about ETOD in Chicago, visit the City of Chicago's ETOD webpage, elevatedchicago.org, the ETOD calculator at etod.cnt.org.